Yeah, let's talk about the storylines. National Football League, Kansas City Chiefs. The state of Kansas did it. They did it on Wednesday. The state of Kansas has completed the financing worth $1.6 billion for a new Kansas City Chiefs stadium, not in Kansas City, Missouri, across the border, Kansas City, Kansas. We talked about this last week that the state had proposed they would use profits from casinos, profits from the lottery, and a sales tax from the businesses that would crop up around the new stadium in the state of Kansas. That's how they would fund it. Part of the agreement is the Chiefs would spend $700 million of their own money to build a practice facility in the state of Kansas, right across the state line, 7 miles from Arrowhead Stadium. State of Missouri is now scrambling, trying to figure out how can we come up with a counter proposal, because the Chiefs were willing to renovate Arrowhead, but they wanted half the money to come from the state of Missouri and from Kansas City, Missouri, and the voters voted it down despite the greatness of the franchise. Well, now, across the state line, Kansas City, Kansas has the money in place to do this. That's amazing.
It is amazing. I mean, but it's true. Even in Kansas City, Missouri, you think the fans would be overwhelmingly do anything for the Chiefs, including pay more taxes. But there's a limit. The people are willing to go here, Lee, and maybe they've hit that line.
And the other thing is, not everybody in Kansas City is an NFL fan or cares about the Chiefs or knows about the Chiefs. It's a citizens thing. Now, there's a little bit of blowback across the state line in the state of Kansas. Some of the people in Kansas City, Kansas, saying, all that money from the lottery, all that money from casinos, all that stuff, isn't that supposed to be used to fix the potholes by my driveway?
And schools.
Or my schools or my water lines?
Yeah.
And we're going to give it to Clark Hunt and the Kansas City Chiefs in the form of a new football stadium? Little bit of blowback from Kansas City,
There
Kansas.
should be blowback for that.
So that's the Kansas City Chiefs story. Raiders looking for more running back help. This is really interesting. They've got a young back from the University of Georgia. They really like. His name is Zamir White. They've got a veteran, former Detroit Lion. His name is Amir Abdullah. They're looking at Kareem Hunt, former Kansas City Chief, third down back, tough guy running back, also with the Cleveland Browns. He's played well as a rotational role guy, and they're bringing him in to talk to him. I like him as a football player. Sometimes he gets himself in hot water off the field. But in terms of a do-everything guy, and most notably as a third-down guy, I was surprised he ever got away from Kansas City, but they're looking at him. And the Chargers, your coach, Jim Harbaugh, when he talks, it's like going to a tent revival. Praise, hallelujah, and all that. He finishes up the OTA workouts before they go on summer vacation this past Friday. He holds his final press conference, and he's just raving about Justin Herbert, and rightfully so, and says what a phenomenal set of OTAs they've had. He said, we put the first, second, and third layer of paint on our offense. We're ready. And then Friday, he says, we have now an elite offensive line. I say, what? They have 3 number 1 draft picks now on their offensive line. And then they got Trey Pippins and they got a journeyman center. I don't know if I'd call it elite because they haven't played it down together yet. And they want to power the football and run the football and better protect. Well, until you show me in games how consistent, how complete they are, I'm just not going to praise hallelujah you have an elite offensive line right now. But Harbaugh's he's through the roof, off the charts with these phrases. One other note, he left and he did not leave happy and he did not leave on good terms. And Austin Ekeler, he's still furious about what happened last year with the Chargers. He's now gone to the Washington Commanders as their lead back. He said he met with Harbaugh and those guys, and he was an unsigned free agent. And I said, Jim told him, my running back is going to have 200 carries. He looked at Austin Ekeler. He says, I don't think you're my running back. I think Ekeler was really offended. And this guy's got 6,600 all-purpose yards in 5 years, a do-everything back. I thought he was treated really shabbily. He thinks he was treated really shabbily. So he does this interview on the East Coast and says, he thought I was going to be a 200-carry back. I'm not a 200-carry back, but look at my record book and what I've done. And he says, oh, by the way, you just brought in 2 running backs from Baltimore who have a history of injuries to replace me. So Austin Ekeler not real happy at what he leaves behind here. But so he goes to Washington, different situation. So Chargers are handling things really differently.
Well, is Austin Ekeler saying, "Look at the back of my football card," and
Yeah.
like Manny Machado does? The Jim Harbaugh is a cheerleader. He's a PR guy. He's trying to create all the hype around that. Charger fans right now feel very good about all the depth on this roster, even though no one's done a damn thing on the field.
They haven't played together.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess my one man's opinion thing we put out on Instagram pissed a few people off, like about 1,000.
Yeah, they're like, Hacksaw, you don't know what you're talking about. We've got more depth than we've ever had as an organization.
Have you played a game together? This is what I said in my one man's opinion that we put up on Instagram, in addition to what we do on our YouTube channel. I said, please tell me, do you have a 1,000-yard rusher to replace Ekeler? No. Have anybody's caught 100 passes to replace Keenan Allen, Mike Williams? No. Do we really know what we have an offensive line yet? No. Who are your defensive tackles that give all those yards rushing? Have you replaced them? No, not really. To me, there's a lot of question marks here. It might be potential, might be pretty cool. You do have the quarterback. But until you prove it to me the first weekend in September, I just have reservations.
You know what's interesting is I was looking when we were doing that video, I was trying to figure out, do the Chargers, have they ever had 100-catch receivers? And obviously Keenan Allen has done that.
And then Mike Williams.
And Mike Williams, LaDainian did it one year. But, guys like Charlie Joyner, Wes Chandler, even Antonio Gates never caught 100 passes in a year.
No, but they were close.
Yeah.
And in the Fouts era, they didn't need a 100 reception guy because they had 5 guys from Kellen Winslow to Charlie Joyner to JJ to Wes Chandler to Chuck Muncie. They spray the ball everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a dynamic offense. Okay, we get to halftime.